Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
Today's topic is reality TV. Is it a guilty pleasure or a waste of time? Reality TV has become a major part of our entertainment landscape. But what is it about these shows that draw us in or that turn us off? Is it the drama, the escapism, or something else entirely? Join us as we explore why reality TV can be both a guilty pleasure and, for some, just mindless entertainment. This is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth and every perspective is valued.
Awesome. Thank you for that intro once again, Tara. Let's just get right into it. Who we start today?
I can't wait to get into this topic because I definitely watch and love reality TV. I am currently binging a new one right now. A waste of time. So I'm curious to know, just to start off, yay, nay, yes, no, up, down reality TV for you too.
For me, it depends on the show. I'm not completely against reality TV, but I tend not to watch the wretched stuff because, well, anymore. Anymore, put it that way. Because sometimes it's just too much. I'm like, why is this on TV? Why are you on TV?
Yeah.
Y'all should know. You're not really representing. You're not really representing well. I'm just saying.
Human. My sentiments, 100%. Exactly. Yeah. It depends on who, what, and why.
So what are the ratchet ones?
I don't want to say.
Yeah. You know Ratchet. We all know Ratchet when we see Ratchet. Are there levels to ratchetness? There are. But there are some things that I just don't even know how it made it on the screen. There are some things I want to run for cover for. I'm embarrassed for some of these things that are.
Well,
Yeah.
it might be that I don't know. So it might. Well, actually, I'm really curious. I hear that you don't want to say because it might be that what you're thinking of is actually not what I'm thinking of as reality TV. There are some that I actually have stopped watching because the more I learned about the show or the more the show started to develop, they just seemed more exploitative than fun. So, for example, I really loved Married at First Sight and Love is Blind. And also, what's the other one? No, I think that's Married at First Sight. I like the idea, love. I like the idea of people finding your partner and also that these relationships take work. And so I did really enjoy all of these. Married at First Sight, especially because they came with sort of three coaches, right? Sex therapist, another kind of therapist. I don't remember what her specialty was, and a pastor, Pastor Cal. And the more that I watched, the more I could see where things were sort of deliberately put in place to ratchet up the drama, especially with Love is Blind. And so I've stopped watching both of those. But what do I still watch? I do still watch now ones that are more competition shows. So, for example, I'm in the middle of watching Traders, which is just a amped up televised version of that game Mafia or Werewolves or The Mole, which is similar, where you're doing competition, there's a winner, but there's also deception, and you have to figure out who's telling the truth and who's a big old liar.
Yeah, what you described, like love at first sight, or whatever it was you said, or Love is Blind, or something like that. I don't think I've seen. I'm positive that I have not seen more than one episode of them, and not because I think that they're like horrible, but that's just not my cup of tea. I don't like. I love the idea of love. I love the idea of people finding love, I love the idea that on some of these shows you have therapists, you have priests or whatever, pastors, you have, resources and support people behind the show and to help people deal with whatever things come up. I'm talking about these shows where it seems like they're there purely for people to be on TV and to show their tale, to cause as much drama as possible, and to be, like you said, to exploit people's lives, to exploit people and put on there just for the sake of, it seems, for everyone else to to watch this show and make fun of these people, to judge these people well, I guess that's what I'm doing now, though, judging in a negative light, but to make fun of them. To me, that it has no value except maybe to provide exposure, and hopefully people are getting paid for the amount of vulnerability that they are exposing on TV. But
yeah,
but only for the, it seems only for that sake is why some of these shows are on, to be as dramatic and cause as much chaos as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say chaos. I agree with Tara completely. Some of them they're embarrassing. It's for entertainment, and it's poor entertainment. It's embarrassing entertainment. It's just awful. And even with the Love at First Sight, Kim, you were talking about the one with, is it Pastor Cal?
Mm-hmm.
I like the show, but even some of the couples that are on there, it turns ratchet.
Yeah.
So it's not the show itself, because some of these shows, the way they're designed, they are just ratchet. And you already know what you're in for.
Mm-hmm.
That particular show, Married at First Sight, I don't think it's designed that way. But the people that they bring on, when they start showing their true colors, some of these couples, it's like, okay, didn't see that coming. And that's just kind of what you get with reality TV. And it's unfortunate, but I don't think it was set up that way, as I think the case is with some of these others. It's for ratings, because there were people that live for it. Mm-hmm. There are people that they set their clocks to some of these reality shows, and I just can't get into them.
And I want
so waste of time, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Married at First Sight, especially, I think as the show progressed, more and more people came on to perform a role than to be themselves. And I will say, though, those performers, those actors, those whatever we want to call them, they do get paid. There was a move over the spring or the summer, I'm not sure where it is, to actually unionize those workers, or maybe have them join one of the existing unions. I'm not sure where that is right now, because I think probably there's a dispute about whether or not, about the kind of how they might be classified as workers, but they do get paid.
Yeah. I think I'm thinking about, there's this one, I'm like, every time I see a commercial for it, I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyway, so one of the things I wonder about is, why do people love, these shows so much? There are some that I really like. For instance, I love Claim to Fame. And I believe that, there are two reality shows that I watch or binge watched or what have you. And one of them is Claim to Fame, and the other one is Dance Moms, like the older version of Dance Moms. And what really, hooked me with, or I guess hooks me because it's still ongoing with Claim to Fame, is that I love the game aspect of it. I love how us, the viewers, along with the people in the house, are trying to piece together who the celebrity relative is based on the clues and the personalities and, just, their physical appearance. And sometimes you're so far off.
I haven't watched it. I think I watched it once. Harry introduced me to it. I guess so. And I watched it with her once, and I never watched it again, but it's interesting.
It's fun. It's so much fun. It's like a puzzle where you have to use your detective skills. And sometimes, honestly, the worst part about it, okay. All right. For that one, I'm there for the drama a lot of times too. It's also just funny, but also part of it is so uncomfortable, because sometimes I feel like the reason that people don't, get guessed is because people don't know who their celebrity relative is. They have no idea who. I'm like, I feel so bad for the celebrity relative.
Like that year, none of those children knew who the Osmonds were.
Yeah, because they were young. They don't.
That's
They don't know about that.
What's the name of the show?
Claim to Fame.
Claim to Fame.
Where do I find it?
Oh, I want to say
Or Hulu?
Hulu, I think.
See that? If it's Peacock, then it's also NBC, but I might be watching it on Hulu.
Okay, I'll look for it.
I think, yes, the ones that I like I tend to like the gamified ones, the games.
Yeah.
Claim to Fame, The Mole, Traders. I've watched Traders now, the US version. There's a UK version. I'm watching the Australia version. I think there's a New Zealand version. Also, The Circle, another one. It's reality, it's games. You are trying to make it to the end. They're voting off. But that one relies a little bit more on
I'm trying to make it to the end. Sounds like life.
for real.
Okay.
Well, relationship. That one, The Circle's Netflix.
Yeah, those are really the best ones.
But the reason that I started watching The Circle, actually, speaking about life, so I had seen it or a description of it and thought this is not for me, because the idea is you have however many people, 8 or 10 or 12, and you're only communicating with each other through social media, through like your profiles or your chats or your group chats. And a person can either be themselves, they can come in playing as themselves, or they can be a catfish where they're coming in playing as a different person. So they made up this persona. And so I thought, no, this whole catfish, because it seemed exploitative. But then I actually listened to an interview by the person who won the second season. It was a Black woman, and from maybe the Bronx, but I recognize her accent. So I think it was the Bronx. I mean, when I say recognize her accent, I like recognize her accent as like, oh, me.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how she went in not as herself, and a lot of her strategy around going in not as herself was her understanding of the ways that Black women are perceived and then treated on social media, and that she knew she wouldn't have a chance if she went in as herself, a Black woman. So she instead went in as her boyfriend, and with this persona of a Black man, she was able to win.
Oh my. Very.
And I was so curious by her analysis that I had to watch, and it was excellent.
That sounds interesting.
It does. And I keep saying I'm going to watch it, but I still have not done so.
It does mean spirited too than some other shows. Generally speaking, people are kind and supportive, and there might be one or two people who come in wanting to be a villain, but that one is a lot kinder than some other shows.
I feel like the first, not counting like talk shows, like I guess which are also reality shows like Jerry Springer and all that stuff, but not counting that, I think my first experience, and maybe everybody's, I don't know, was Big Brother. That was my first experience of reality TV, where they're it was like obviously like the early first season or something like that, and I just remember how enjoyable it was just to be able to feel like you're like peeking into these people's lives and seeing how they behave behind closed doors and seeing what kinds of shenanigans they get up to. And then at some point, and I don't remember if it was the first season or not, they had this thing where you could go online and you could actually like watch. They had cameras that was like people who just could actually watch what was going on in the house that wasn't actually shown on TV. Like what happened, like when the cameras are gone, the TV cameras are gone, but you still have this thing, or you can be like a voyeur. And I love that aspect of it, which I guess that might say something about me. I don't know.
It does.
I remember that though. I remember when the internet was not as good as it is right now. Watching, like on the internet, watching these like grainy pictures of people at night.
Yes. Like, oh,
but
who's that in that room? Why are they talking? Oh, why are those two in that bed?
The original reality show, I remember The Real World.
Oh, that's
what happens when you put people in a house and they stop being polite and start being real.
Yes. Oh, I
Okay.
forgot about that. Yes. Uh-huh.
Remember that. That's where, what's her name? Where I first saw Tammy
Oh,
Roman.
Tammy.
That's where I first saw her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She had turned that into, I think she had turned that into a reality TV career. I
I'm
just
gonna.
remember Heather B, who was
Mm-hmm.
a rapper, and she had a beeper, and that girl asked her, "Why do you have a beeper? Are you a drug
You
dealer?"
sell drugs?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my
Yeah.
Julie.
Oh, I remember
Julie.
Julie, and I remember David.
And Kevin.
Kevin, who now writes like social and cultural analysis.
Oh, I thought
Was
he
it
did that
David?
too.
Wait,
From
was
Jersey,
it David? Was there a David? Maybe I'm thinking about Kevin.
the black guy.
Kevin had the fight with Tammy, right?
Oh, this was David the second season. Mm.
Man, you're making me want to go back and look for it and watch it. Yes. I think it was Kevin and Tammy that had the fight.
Nope, they were different seasons. Kevin was the first season, Jersey City.
But he did have a fight with somebody.
He did have a fight with somebody, and we won't recap
I
about
want
what
to
the fight.
He had a
I
fight
want to
with
say it
Julie.
was Julie.
Had a fight with Julie. Because
So who did Tammy have a fight or argument
Tammy
about
had an argument with David, and he
one
got
of
kicked
the
out.
something about a decision she had made, and they had anyway. But Tammy now is in something that I watched that I love, which is Tara. I told you to watch it, The Family Business.
I didn't watch that though. I'm sorry.
She said I ain't watching them.
I didn't say I'm not going to. I said I didn't. I didn't
If
watch
anyone
it.
out there from Family Business is listening, I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just saying that we watch it, and that's where Tammy is now. Little
The
plug
family
there for you. I'm
is
sure
that
I'm sure no one from the show is listening to this podcast.
is
So
that
you never know. We have a far reach.
We
is the
do. Thank God. It's a blessing. But I love the show though. I'm in season 5 and I love it.
is that a reality show or a scripted show?
It's scripted. But we were talking about Tammy, so let's reel it back in.
No, but there are for some people like this is what they want to be doing. They want to be acting, they want to be performing, and the reality show is their like launch pad
Yeah.
There it is.
into that world.
Yes.
Well, look at Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
She was she was in what do we just call it? What was the show?
The real
Real
world.
world.
The Real World. And then she was on Basketball Wives. And I'm sure she was on things in between all of that, but I remember those two in particular, and now The Family Business, which is scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love her in that. I love her in that.
What's interesting though is like even some of these so-called reality shows are scripted or at least heavily, heavily, heavily manipulated. Like with Dance Moms, that one for me is a guilty pleasure, and I'm going to tell you why. It's old. It started about, I guess the kids were like, started when they're like 9, 10 years old. So it's really old, and it lasted for like 7, I think, or 8 years. They have a new version out now, which I have not seen. I probably won't watch it. But anyway, and it's just that I just love watching the dances, and I loved the relationships between the girls and the moms, and the girls and the moms, and the dance teacher who was really not the nicest person at all. And also and it's sad to say, but the drama. I watched it for the drama, but also because there were some favorites that I did have amongst the girls. And the whole point, not the whole point of the show, but a big part of the show was how like there's this one particular girl who was like the favorite. And it looked from what you see on TV, like everybody was just so against her or what have you. And a lot of friendships the girls had been friends before the show started, were ruined. But you find out later on that, you know, a lot of the situations weren't exactly as they appeared on TV. Like producers manipulated it, but some real friendships were broken for a while. And what I like about it now is that with social media and stuff, you can catch up with them if you want to, but just to see how the girls a lot of them are still in contact and they are still friends. And even despite all the divisiveness, they still have a pretty good relationship. A lot of them were heavily traumatized psychologically, I guess, emotionally by their experience on the show. But that's a sad part of it.
Was it the show or in that dance environment or both?
It was the show, meaning from what I gather, the producers, and also sometimes the parents' interactions and the teacher. Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes they can be heavily produced. And so, again, why I stopped watching some of the ones that I did stop watching is hearing from people who had been on those shows talk about how heavily produced they are and how situations are manipulated. And, people will say, well, they can't air something that you didn't actually say. That's true. And also, they can certainly tape a lot of things that you say.
Yes, exactly. So I just wanted to talk about a little bit about this. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33 says, "Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals." And Psalm 101, verse 3 says, "I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not cling to me." And I think that it's important to consider how the content that we consume affects us. Like with the First Corinthians, it reminds us they can shape our behaviors and our morals. And so it's worth reflecting on whether the shows that we enjoy are contributing positively to our lives. And similarly, I think that Psalm 101, verse 3 works together with that by encouraging us to be thoughtful about what we watch. And it suggests that we make intentional choices and maybe avoid content that doesn't necessarily align with our values. So I think that that's something to consider. Not going to lie. I still watch what I watch for entertainment's sake. And sometimes it does not align with my values. So maybe I should be better about that.
Well, I mean, to each his own, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Each his own.
Well, I would just say one of my values is to be curious about the world. So I think I'm covered.
Love her. I love that for you.
Yeah. So as we've explored today, reality TV certainly has a way of capturing our attention and evoking strong feelings sometimes. And whether you view it as a guilty pleasure or simply mindless entertainment, it is clear that it holds a significant place in our media consumption. Reality TV can offer both escapism and be a reflection, I guess, of society, and how we engage with it might say as much about us as it does about the shows themselves. Again, thank you for joining us for this episode of Unfiltered Perspectives. Be sure to look for a new episode on Thursday mornings, and don't forget to share, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss an episode.
Find us on Facebook and YouTube at Unfiltered Perspectives and Instagram at Unfiltered Perspectives IG. We're going to try to make those spaces a little bit more interactive for you. We'd love to take listener questions. If you have a question that you'd like for us to address in the podcast, send them to unfilteredperspectives@outlook.com.
Once again, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to bringing you these topics, and we will see you again next week, same time. Bye-bye.